In this demonstration, we're going to look at configuring endpoint protection policies. So we're going to have a look at the anti-malware policy and also as well the firewall policy. I've come to my System Center Configuration Manager admin console. I've come to my assets and compliance workplace. And within here, what we're looking for here is we're looking for our endpoint protection. So if we have a look down here, we have our endpoint protection. So I'll expand this up. And within here, what we have is we have two separate types of policies we can create. So the first one we're going to go for here is an anti-malware policy. As you can see, we have a default, but in our case what we want to do here is we want to create a new anti-malware policy. This will bring us into a wizard. So the first thing we need to do is we actually need to give this a name. So we'll highlight the name and then type in our name. And in our case, we're going to call this all workstations. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go for scheduled scans. We'll select that and turn on tick box. What we'll also do as well is go for scan settings. We'll go for our real-time protection, and what we'll also go for as well is advanced. And finally what we'll do is we'll go for definition updates and turn on tick box as well. Then what we need to do is we then need to come in and just modify some of these settings. So the ones I've missed out here are just things like default actions for things like quarantine and exclusion settings. So I actually want to check everything, any threat overrides, and we've already opted out of the Microsoft Active Protection service. So let's just go for our scheduled scans to start with. And what we're going to do in the case of our scheduled scans is we will run a scheduled scan. We are just going to go for a quick scan, but as you can see, quick scan or full scan. So full scan will check everything. In the case of our scan day, let's make that Thursday. And then in the case of our scan time, let's make that 3 AM. Run a daily quick scan on client computers. We'll leave that as no. Also as well as we've left that as no. Daily quick scan schedule time is grayed out. Check for the latest definition updates before running a scan. Ideally we'd set that to yes out there in the real world. Start a scheduled scan when the computer is idle. Yep, that's a good idea, so we'll leave that as yes. We will force a scan of the selected scan type if the client computer is offline, or 2 or more scheduled scans, and we will limit the usage to, yep, we'll leave that as 50%. Then we come to our scan settings. So within our scan settings, so what we'll have a look at here is we will scan email and also as well email attachments. We will scan removable storage devices. What we'll say for purposes of this little demo at this point here is what we'll say is network drives. We're scanning that with a different bit of software. Scan archive files, we're happy with that, yes. Allow users to configure their CPU usage. Anywhere where I say allow users to do anything, I'm going to leave that as no. So user control, no control. We'll then come to our real-time protection. So within our real-time protection, yes, we will enable real-time protection. What we'll also do as well is monitor file and program activity on the computer. Yes, we'll leave that set as yes. Scan the system files. What we'll do here is we'll go for purely incoming files. We will scan all downloaded files. We will enable behavior monitoring. We will protect against network-based exploits. And again, allow users to do anything. I will set that as no, but we won't allow users to mess about with any of these settings. Then on our advanced tab, so on our advanced tab, what we can do at this point here, we can create a system restore point before the computers are cleaned. I think I'll set that to yes. Disable client user interface, yes. Show notification messages on the client when the user needs to run a full scan. I'll leave that as no. Delete quarantine files after, I'm going to set that to 5 days or on 30 days. Allow users to configure any settings for quarantine and file deletion, no. Allow users to exclude files, no. Allow all users to view the history, no. Enable the reparse point scanning, no. Random scheduled scan and definition within 30 minutes, we'll go with no there as well. Enable the auto sample file submission to help Microsoft determine whether certain detected items are malicious. I think we'll leave that as no as well. Then we'll just go to our definition updates. And in the case of our definition updates, the only thing we really need to do here is just set our source. So we'll just go to source. And then what we'll do is we'll just modify some of these settings. So updates distributed from configuration manager. We'll leave that one turned on. Updates distribute from WSOS, yep, we'll leave that on. We'll turn off the ones for Microsoft Update purely because I don't have an internet connection. We'll also as well leave off the tick box from UNC file shares. And then we'll select OK. So some of these other settings, so check for endpoint protection definitions. Yeah, we're happy with 8 hours, 2 AM for the check for endpoint protection. Yes, we're happy with that. What we'll also do as well is force the definition update if the client computer is offline for more than 2 consecutive scans. We'll say yes there. We've already set the source. Config manager uses source for definition. Clients will only update from alternate sources if definition is older than 72 hours. Yep, we're happy with that. We're not using UNC file shares, so we'll just leave that. And at this point here, we'll now just select OK. So the next thing to do is actually just deploy our anti-malware policy. So what we'll do at this point here is we'll come down and we will deploy it. So we'll click on the deploy button and we'll just deploy this out to our endpoint protection pilot and we'll select OK. So the other type of policy we can create is a Windows Firewall policy. So we'll right click, we'll create a new Windows Firewall policy, and again that'll bring us into Wizard. So all we need to do is fill out the general page. And I'm going to call mine All Workstations Firewall Policy, and that's going to be for Windows 10 and Windows 7. So we'll select Next. Not really a lot to ask us here, so enable the Windows Firewall. So what we're going to do here is we're going to enable it on the domain profile, so we'll have that as a yes. Also what we'll do here as well, if we look down here, we're not going to bother with the private profile or the public profile. What we have here is we have block all incoming connections, including those on the list. So what we'll do at this point here is, as you can see on the drop down, we've either got yes or no. So what we'll do is we'll say no, and then finally notify the user when the Windows Firewall blocks a new program. We'll set that as a yes. And then finally we'll select Next. Select Next again. Then what we'll do is once it finishes working through, creating our policy, we'll click Close on the completion. So at this point here, we'll just select Close. And then finally all we need to do is we just need to deploy that. So we'll right click and we'll deploy on our firewall policy. And then what we'll do is we'll browse through. Again, we'll just go for our endpoint protection pilot. We'll select OK. And specify the compliance evaluation. Yep, we'll run that every 7 days and select OK. And that's the end of this demonstration of creating anti-malware and also as well Windows Firewall policies. Thank you.